The study suggests a strong genetic link to autism, although researchers still don't know what genes are involved. It also means that a younger sibling of an autistic child should be watched very carefully to see if they show any early signs of autism so that early intervention can be started. Joining us with more on the study is Dr. Charles Cartwright, director of the YAI Autism Center. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
This is terrifying news for the parents of an autistic child.
Absolutely. You know, for families who already have a child with autism, the notion that they're at such a significantly increased risk of having another child with autism is extremely scary.
Do we know why boys are more susceptible or more at risk?
It's an issue, it's a question that has puzzled researchers for much time. And one of the theories is called the extreme male brain theory of autism, which is, you know, when I think about my family, I think about how the differences, generalizations of differences between girls and boys. And girls tend to have much stronger empathic social abilities. Boys tend to be more sort of focused on systems and less strong in the social and empathic area. And if there is a genetic cause interacting with an environment, you can imagine how a boy is more vulnerable to the development of autism because a girl has that capacity that protects her. And that's one of the theories that I think has really taken hold, and there's much interest in that work.
Girls are just naturally more sociable than boys, and autism, one of the ways that it expresses itself is through a lack of being social, correct?
Absolutely. You know, there are three core areas: the social, the difficulty making eye contact, engaging, picking up on emotion, feeling empathy towards others, the difficulty forming language, speaking in a way that's having conversations with others. And then the other one is, the third area is restricted interests, narrowed range of interest, sort of focusing on the same thing and being focused on it over and over again. And all of these signs, particularly the social and communication signs, need to be present before the age of 3.
So if parents who have an autistic child are considering having another child, what advice do you have for them?
There's much that can be done. Just pooling all the research together. You know, what needs to be done is, first, the child with autism that they have, they need to do a genetic workup to identify whether there's any risk of recurrence of another child having the same gene that may cause autism.
So we do know what those markers are now?
We know, certainly for, say, a condition like Fragile X, we know how to test for Fragile X, and that's been associated with autism. Rule that out in your child. The second is vitamins and folate. Before falling pregnant, it's important that for 3 months before, take vitamins and folate, even at the time of conception, and for about 10 to 12 weeks after. That seems to lessen the risk of having a child with autism. Avoiding certain medications during pregnancy, particularly Depakote, which is an anti-seizure medication, which has been associated with social difficulties in children.
And then whatever immunizations that you need, take them before you get pregnant.
Absolutely. You know, expecting mothers need to make sure that their rubella status is known, that they're immune to rubella, because rubella is known to be one of the infections that can cause or lead to an autistic syndrome in their child.
Now, the whole theory about childhood vaccinations causing autism has been largely debunked, but there are some possible environmental factors that could affect whether a child gets autism or not.
There are. You know, there's interesting work that the Centers for Disease Control are doing in this area, and we're looking at infections in utero during the pregnancy. We're looking at toxins in the environment, and there's one sort of interesting sort of finding looking at chemicals called phthalates, which are in household cleaning products. And there's some suggestion that these products can be neurotoxic and may play a role of interacting with genes to increase the risk of autism in that particular child.
Now, we're almost out of time, but one of the things that you advise is to, if you have a second child and your first child was autistic, or one of the older childs, keep a close eye on them from the very earliest stages.
Absolutely.
If you start to see signs of autism, is there something that can be done to slow the progression of it in this child?
Well, the first thing is, you know, child checkups are so important, and sensitizing the pediatrician to look for signs for autism. And if there are signs, evaluations. Never accept this notion of wait and see.
Yeah.
Now, I think we've really got to move way beyond that and just put that aside. If there are concerns, particularly in a family who already has a child with autism, wait and see. It just must not exist.
Now, before we have to go, I want to make sure that you tell us where these parents can go to get more information on this, because I know they're probably sitting at home going, who do I talk to?
Yes. An organization like Autism Speaks, wonderful website, a lot of information. Organizations like National Institute of Health and the Centers for Disease Control. They have wonderful information that's available that's very helpful for parents.
Yeah, it's not a hopeless situation. There is help out there.
Yes.
Okay, great. Dr. Charles Cartwright, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Great information. He is, again, the director of the YAI Autism Center.